Welcome to That's Good Craic.
With me, Dan, Colin.
Oh yes, what's the crack?
And Mick.
Yo, yo, yo.
Listen to our podcast every Wednesday.
All right, welcome to podcast number 13 of That's Good Craic. And how are you, lads?
All right, Danny.
How are you doing, Dan? You good?
What is the actual crack?
What is the actual crack? Well, the crack is good.
Did you have a good week?
Yeah, it's been all right. Well, the weekend, I just quickly touch on this. I started on something new. It's called a metabolic diet, and it's about resetting your metabolism. It's a good bit of research done into it. It's about a certain part of your brain, which is that the hypothalamus, which controls the storage of fat in your body. And for a lot of people who struggle with basically, let's say, lose weight and then put it back on the same places and always go back to that kind of slightly overweight, fat in the wrong places. This basically helps you reset that, and it's been researched over many years. And so I started that, and I won't go into it in detail, but at the weekend, the start of it involves you take a thing called HCG, which is like it's like a hormone, but it's not a hormone. What it does is it helps reset that part of your brain. And the first 2 days involve eating as much fatty foods as you can for 2 days. And so the weekend was just like eating fatty foods all weekend, and I've never felt so full on Sunday. And then Monday morning was literally weighed food, so about 120 grams of protein twice a day, and then veg. So I'm kind of feeling the withdrawals of not having carbs or sugars or anything today, so the energy's quite low. But it's interesting. I like trying new stuff, so let's see how it goes. It's for 21 days is the actual reset, so it'll be three weeks of this consistently eating as much veg as I want, but a set amount of protein and no carbs, no sugars. No milk, no lactose, just water and black coffee if I want liquids or green tea. That's it, really. That's the height of my weekend. Exciting stuff, lads.
Well, what is it? When you said HG, what was that HG?
It's called HCG.
So what does that stand for?
It stands for, I don't actually know the full name, what it stands for. I've only just started kind of researching it, but basically...
Is it HG what?
It's HCG. It's called human chorion gonadotropin. Gonadotropin.
Hungry cunt gone mad, I'd say. That's right.
So it safeguards the nutrition of the fetus, is what it actually does. And
what? Whoa!
Hey, dude! What? Wait,
back it up. You said fucking. All I heard is fucking.
What was that shit? Come on.
Fetus. That's all I heard.
I think, man, you're doing a pregnant woman's fucking diet, man. It's like what?
How is it safeguarding your fetus? That's what I want to know. So,
no, what it's doing is
you're 6 foot fucking 11 or something, dude. You're farming fetus. You know what I mean? 100 kilos. Like, I mean,
I should never go down this road. But so basically, a guy called Hunman describes the HG.
Oh, right. Well, then.
Causes the hypothalamus and by extension the metabolism to perform at its optimal levels, thus drawing on the reserves of fat, and it resets this part of your brain. So a lot of people who basically do diets, train hard, they lose the weight, and if they don't keep that consistent constantly, they put it back on, whereas other people don't. They consistently stay at the one weight. And this reset is supposed to basically reset your body and this part of your brain, the hypothalamus, so that when you max kind of fluctuate between 1 and 2 kilos.
And tell us, Danny, I look forward to the journey and seeing how you get on and stuff like that. And but just wondering, are you hangry? Are you eating everyone without salt?
That's a very good question, Mick. Yesterday I was struggling with hangry, and today apparently it takes about 4 or 5 days because you're obviously detoxing from sugars and carbs and stuff. So
you have to get used to the starvation. I know.
Yeah. So the first few days obviously is going to be hard. So yesterday I had a banging headache, and I was literally. Sahar came home and I was like, I'm going to bed. Literally went straight into the bedroom and says, best just leave me in peace, because I had I was literally, that feeling of hungry. And I mean, I've been just filling up on. I made a lot of homemade tomato soup, roasted tomatoes, and cooked up some tomato soup for myself. That's completely clean. I can eat as much as that as I want. You can eat as much veg as you want, you know. So that's been kind of keeping me full and lots of water. But yeah, to answer your question, yeah, I've had moments of hangriness.
All right, cool, Danny. What you call it? Nice one. Well, Carl, how'd you get on?
Yeah, grand, man. Taking over like a mouse's heart. As you know, I stopped using nicotine. I was inspired by the motivational talks that you were giving me last week on the podcast, and
awesome.
I gave up nicotine and
give up your vape.
Give up the vape, yeah, the nicotine, which is fucking like mainlining heroin into your neck. I think, you know what I mean? It's
crack pipe.
I'm telling you, man, it ain't no joke. I gave up smoking before, and it was just fucking. It was relatively easy when I had the mindset to give it up. There was no anger, there was no irritation, there was no nothing. But what I'm always curious, and we were talking about this before, is with cigarettes, the most I was ever on was 20 cigarettes a day, right? And that was when I was just burnt out. I got fed up with smoke. I couldn't smoke anymore when I got to that point. But I don't actually know how many in comparison, how many cigarettes a day I am using when I'm using that vape.
Because it's constant.
Constant from 8 o'clock in the morning when I wake up till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. The last thing I do at night, the first thing I do in the morning, and it's all day long. Yeah. All day long. It's actually really weird, actually, how close people are to these vapes, myself included. And it just, it just was very, very challenging, actually, psychologically. Not that, right. Here it is. If I wasn't mentally strong, I would have vaped or I would have used some kind of nicotine already by now. But it was mood swings, irritation was the big one, you know. And I was reading up a bit about it. And nicotine actually affects your brain. I didn't notice. Like, I probably should have read up about it 20 years ago. You know, would have made more sense. But it does. It changes some kind of thing within your brain, and that's like giving it up just all of a sudden, going from using it to maybe 18 hours a day, non-stop, to absolutely nothing. Probably if I was to do it again and know, which I'm never going to fucking do it again, but just if I had known, I probably would have used some kind of nicotine substitute along the way just to kind of help out a little bit. But I've done it now and it's over, basically. Today was a great day. I didn't think of smoking or vaping once.
It's amazing.
Good man.
Yeah, it is amazing. But those few days, I honestly, if I didn't know about giving up shit, if I didn't know how to give up things, and I didn't know that it gets better, and I didn't know, you know, all the head full of knowledge I have from over the last 12 years of that, I probably would have vaped or smoked a cigarette. Because just to stop how tormenting it was. It'd be interesting to know how much cigarettes the average person is smoking every day through these vape, like quantity of nicotine. I would be really fucking interested to know that, because let's say I was smoking 10 to 20 cigarettes a day. I'd say with the vape, it was probably about 60 or 70 worth of nicotine.
Yeah, and I think it's such an effective way of getting it into you, like, you know, with, like, if you see the way the amount of like, not smoke, steam or whatever comes out of people after, like, Jesus, man, it's a lot.
Man, it's a clean hit. It's a clean liquid nicotine going straight into the lungs.
Yeah,
you know
what I know?
It's just like a crack pipe. Yeah,
is anyone I know that has vape, it's like more so than cigarettes, it's almost attached to them. Do you know what I mean?
An appendage, yeah.
Yeah, it's literally, and they're like, it's almost in their hand, 90%. Like, I have a friend who vapes, and literally, it's like, yeah, exactly that. It's like another part of their body. You know what I mean? And it's more so than I've seen with cigarettes, if that makes sense.
No, it definitely, like, and the thing with the e-cigarette, the vape, is that, like, with a cigarette, there was rituals. So after you have a cup of coffee, you have a vape, or when you have a cup of coffee, you have a smoke. When fucking
after dinner, yeah,
you go outside for a smoke, or whatever the fuck it is. Like, there was all these set times, but with vape, it's every single situation.
Yeah,
there is no separate times. It's constant all day long. So where I found it the most challenging was sitting at my office desk. For anyone that's listening, I don't work in an environment with lots of people in an office. In my own office, I was sitting at my desk, and that's where, because I could be there for a lot of hours every day, and all I'm doing is drinking coffee and vaping and listening to music or podcasts all day long. So I found it was a couple of days where that was just so fucking difficult, you know. But I started to view this vaping as a real weakness in my life, because I couldn't go anywhere without it. I couldn't go. If I couldn't find it for 30 seconds, I was panicking, you know. And I never had that over cigarettes, like never.
Just to kind of bring it around and kind of go, all that said, like, you know what I mean, for anyone that's vaping or smoking and thinking of giving up, like, go back to last week's podcast and listen about how we get this stuff up. And at the end of the day, man, tough times aside and all that, like, you know what I mean, you're 6 days off it and you've kind of come over the brow of the hill, like, you know what I mean, and that's 6 years that you've been trying to give it up, and 6 days you're off it now, so it's amazing. Well done.
Fucking brilliant. Well done, man.
It is, man, and you know, like, in saying that, I'm just talking about the bad sides of it. But
of course, just to kind of say, you know what I mean?
But I'm just trying to make the comparison with the vaping and the cigarettes, like, because I've done both. I've given up both at different times, and I just think, but like in general, overall, I'm so fucking happy that I'm not vaping anymore, because I don't worry when I leave the house. Where is it? You know what I mean? I'm not panicking, like. It's just, man, it's just great not to be fucking dependent on it, because I've tried giving up loads of times over the past few years, like, and as soon as, like, 2 hours would go by and I give in straight away. But for this reason, after our nice chat and getting into a good positive headspace, like, I was fucking 6 days, no, nearly 7. By the time this podcast go out, if I'm still off it, it'll be 7 days. So
nice one.
A solid week, so I feel like today now I've broke the back. I've broke the, you know, I've crossed the line, you know. But it's all good, man. 6 days is nothing for the rest of my life, you know what I mean? It's a drop in the fucking ocean. Man. Absolutely. It's nothing. And like you said, like, it wasn't that bad that I was torn asunder. It was just emotionally draining, and psychologically, I'm very, very irritated for those few days.
Which is to be expected, like,
100%. You're going from putting something into your body 18, 19 hours a day, all day, every day, to nothing. And I don't even know how much I was putting in. But so, all good. And I definitely, you know, recommend anyone that is vaping around to give what we said, or the process that we used in our last podcast, a go, because it works, it's effective, and happy days. 6 days of fucking, I was still able to go to work. I was still able to do everything, lads, you know, that kind of way. It's not like I was withdrawn from heroin or fucking crack cocaine and I was curled up in a ball somewhere, you know. It's not that. It's just it was more irritated than anything. But so man, all good. 1 week down.
Well done.
Nice. And Mick, how'd you get on? What'd you get up to? Or any crack?
Well, I was over Call there on Friday. Let's go to Craic, and Saturday, myself and my partner went to my friend Dec's 40th. He had a surprise 40th. His wife put on for him, in Waterford, and we drove over the Cumber Mountains, and it was just beautiful. Beautiful drive, and. Went down. She'd rented out a beautiful house down there, and beside the sea, and loads of musicians. He's a musician himself, very talented guy, and he just has lots of musicians friends. And Jesus, there was a session started, hours of playing music, and it was just like one person after the next person. It was just like everyone that played was just like really good, and so it's inspirational stuff. Like, I haven't really played in a long time now, you know what I mean? I've been struggling to get back at it, and so I was just like, here, give us that guitar, you know what I mean? Which isn't always the case for me. Like, I'm standoffish in situations like that, you know what I mean? I wouldn't be eager all the time to play music, and but I just felt really good and inspired, you know what I mean? I was just listening to all these people, and I was like, here, I'm going to throw in my oar, and really enjoyed it. Just was really relaxed to myself. Really, I felt I was just surrounded by friendly people, friendly energy, and I just love that. I just love the fact that I have like really cool people like that in my life, and it was really enjoyable. Really, really enjoyable. So that was the highlight, I'd say, of my week, and but good stuff. Other than that, it was just continuing on my training, and
I was going to ask.
the Hell and Back next week, next Saturday. Myself, Colin, will actually be doing with Deck and his wife Mandy, and
Brilliant.
yeah, and another couple of people, and so I'm looking forward to that. You know what I mean? It's going to be interesting challenge, and So it's been nice to be training for that, and doing a bit of jiu-jitsu and really enjoying that, and yeah.
I definitely want to see Pixie lads going through that Hell and Back.
Yeah, Ayoma, my partner, she's coming, so she's not doing it, but I'm sure she'll have the evidence.
Because would you believe it? I actually asked my girlfriend would she come to take photos of us for going over the line. There has to be some kind of pictorial evidence of this.
Absolutely, yeah, just to prove we were there.
Yeah, because I am super unfit. And the only reason I'm doing it is because I committed to it. and
I wouldn't let him away with it. I'd be like sitting outside his door with the car.
The reality of it set in when I got an email to confirm my fucking place. I was like, oh Jesus, yeah, that's actually happening. You know?
Oh yeah.
I had a look on the website today though. It actually looks really cool, man. It's not a straight run, so it's not like running 8 kilometers solid through muck. Like there's a lot of climbing and stuff in it, which I quite enjoy actually. So it'd be good. So come here, Mick. Where was this? You were saying we received a message.
Yeah, on Facebook. We had a couple of them, but there's this one. It's from Sue. I won't say your second name, Sue, but thanks a million for the couple of messages. And the first one was just relating to all the stuff that's been on the podcast, and so thanks for that. But the next one was a suggestion for a topic, just a suggestion for a topic, as it's something I've always struggled with, and even on a day-to-day basis, and it's dealing with shame. I know it's tied in with self-acceptance, which you have covered already, but shame can just eat me up from time to time. The shame of not knowing what I did in a blackout situation back when I was drunk, or the shame of seeing someone in a social situation that I may have offended, hurt, embarrassed myself or them. How do you guys deal with with shame, and how do you overcome it?
That sounds like a good one for Danny.
This has Danny written all over it. I'm just putting my feet up here with my tea.
All I have to say is fuck y'all.
It sounds
Right, okay. You fucking
as Danny sweats.
Yeah, I'm sweating here. I'm actually sweating here. Fucking roasting here, lads. I shut all the windows, right, so there's no noise outside, and it's literally like a hot box in here, man. It's so bloody hot. Like
40 degrees over in Tenerife, yeah.
Oh, I swear to God, man, it's getting hotter and hotter, and it's just gone up since you asked me that question. Sue, isn't it?
It is Sue, yeah.
Thanks, Sue, very, very much for I think there was a lot of nice comments in the message as well, and thanks for the question. And I just checked there before I answer this, just to double check, Mick, that on about shame from our past or shame now, like shame from
what Sue was asking about was she's saying, like, you know, when she was in blackouts, or when she'd see like she's shameful about things that she would have done while she was in a blackout, kind of drunk. And also shame from, like, when she'd meet people in social situations that she may have, like, said bad things there, did that bad things, you know what I mean? Too, when she was drunk, obviously, you know. So it's really, like, what was it she said? The shame of not knowing what I did in a blackout situation back when I drank, or the shame of seeing someone in a social situation that I may have offended, hurt, embarrassed myself or them, or myself or them. How do you guys deal with shame, and how does it overcome it? And just to say that Sue is drug and alcohol free, ex-smoker, ex-blackout artist, as she says, and she loves to run and outdoors and all that. So sorry, I probably should have read the whole thing, like, I mean, but like, she was just relating to a lot of stuff we talk about, which is great. But yeah, that's really it. It's about her past and how to deal with the shame of stuff that she did while under the influence.
Well, I suppose just to kind of for me, like dealing with the shame of my past, a lot of it had to do with, you know, when I was obviously drinking and drugging, I did a lot of things that, you know, I wouldn't do now. Like, and when I gave up the drink and drugs, I had a lot of wreckage from my past and stuff that I'd done that, you know, I wasn't proud of. Like, do you know what I mean? I robbed from people. I lied to people. I did things that I wasn't proud of. And yeah, at the start, I felt ashamed of the stuff that I'd done, and was certainly kind of embarrassed of, you know, walking around my local town, because I was afraid of people I might meet that I'd done something to, or done something stupid in front of, or and I suppose talking about it with someone else who experienced the same things, and understanding that it was to do with the place that I was at, and for the people that I hurt, I needed to apologize, obviously, and make amends to those people. But to kind of get over that feeling of being ashamed about it, was talking about it with someone else and understanding that was, while it's wrong and I don't want to repeat it, it was stuff that I did when I was in a bad place and you know, unwell, you know what I mean? And we've talked about this before. There's places that people who suffer, I mean, we talk about stopping drinking and drugging. There is places for people that like, you know, I happen to have a drink and drug problem, and I had to go somewhere where you know, a recovery program to change. And for people out there who are struggling with that, then I would suggest, you know, possibly going to a 12-step recovery program, and that involves working through a process that allows us to deal with the things that we've done in the past, and allowed me to feel okay again with just, you know, being in situations. I mean, just to touch on a story. I remember I was 2 years off drinking drugs, and you know, obviously when I was drinking, for me, when I was drinking a drug, and I was in the party scene, and I used to sell drugs, and I remember I was asked to do a job in a nightclub in my hometown, massive club, and it's where I started getting into the whole club thing. And they asked me to be a light jockey, controlling the lights and stuff like that, and the lasers and stuff. And I remember it was an in-house job, and the owner sat me down. He says to me, and I sat in front of him, and I thought it was a standard interview, and he just turned around to me and he says, "I know you used to sell drugs, you know what I mean? I know you used to this." And straight away I kind of felt a feeling of kind of discomfort and shame about what I'd done in the past. But then I realized that I'm not that person anymore, that I've changed. And he came out with it then straight away. But I know that you've changed, and I know that you are changing as a person, and I can see that you're not involved in that stuff anymore. And that's why I want to give you a chance in here, and I think you'll be good at it. You know what I mean? And he could see, and people could see the change that was going on in me. And in that town where I sold drugs and caused trouble, I started changing. I started becoming a part of the community, getting involved in drama groups, getting involved in you know, volunteer stuff, getting involved in different things. And through that, I kind of reversed the feeling of shame and more feeling of kind of, you know, I'm changing, I'm a different person now, and I can make amends for those things that I've done wrong in the past. And it allowed me to kind of step over that kind of feeling of shame and feeling good that I'd made a decision to change my life. Do you know what I mean? And I feel grateful that I have that chance to change my life, and also the chance to show, like we are, you know, funny enough, we are, by doing this podcast, sharing stuff through our experiences of changing the way we live from the people that we were. We're sharing our experiences that's helping other people follow that path or learn from maybe some of the mistakes that we've made. And a lot of that helps me, you know, I feel grateful, and and in some ways sometimes proud that I've managed to be part of of a change, you know what I mean? And it kind of helps deal with that kind of, you know, the past was me back then, but that past is not me right now. Like, you know, the me right now is a completely different person, and I've put in the effort to change that, and I've had the help from many good people around me, and I suppose that's kind of how I deal with the shame, if that makes any sense to anyone.
Yeah.
I've just gone on a mad ramble.
Yeah, well, that's what you're here for, Danny. You know what I mean? The mad rambles are what we're all about. And yeah, no, with shame, like for me, I had to get some help with it. And because I was riddled with guilt and shame when I came in, and when I started this process of giving up substances, and I suppose I had to be broken down for me what the difference between guilt and shame was, you know, because they're synonymous with each other. People use them. I do all the time, say guilt and shame all the time, but they're not actually the same. If you look at dictionary definition, it's fairly similar, other than they kind of say shame has a painful side to it, like an emotionally painful kind of aspect to it. And the way it was explained to me was like guilt is actually a good thing, right? If I feel guilty about something, it's because I've done wrong and I feel guilt. It shows that I have a conscience, and it also can make me empathize with the person that I've done the harm to, you know. And so I've done something, and I feel guilty about. So that's actually a good thing, you know. And that gives you the opportunity then to kind of see it for what it is and to change. Shame is different. Shame can come from guilt, but shame is really about other people involved. You know what I mean? So how you're kind of perceived, and shame can be justified. Like, you know what I mean? I was there when I looked at this thing. Thanks a million, Sue, for the question. You know, and I'm sorry I didn't actually read out your first text. It was only when I was looking back over. I said that was lovely stuff you're after writing in there. You know what I mean? And just the fact that you'd even bother to do it, I was just kind of thinking, oh, there might be some personal stuff in there, so I didn't. But anyway. Just to say thank you for it. I did think when I looked at it, though, I was there like the podcast name is That's Good Craic, and I was like, yeah, like how are we going to knock a bit of crack out of shame, you know what I mean? But and then I was kind of thinking, like, you know what I mean, why do we have shame, right? Why is it even there? It's such a shitty feeling. Like, why do we have well, there is times when shame is good, like, you know what I mean? Like, say for instance, if you have a thing where you like to fart in an elevator, say for instance, you know what I mean, it's kind of like, it's good to be to shame people who feel like they can do that, you know what I mean? There's a situation where, like, do you know what I mean, I don't want to be in an elevator with somebody who thinks it's okay to fart, you know what I mean? I think if they like, you mean, I want them to feel shame. So there are occasions when it's okay, you know what I mean, we learn how to, you know what I mean, it kind of helps society and stuff like that. But then there's other shames. There's toxic shame. There's shame that we carry around inside us and we try to avoid, and we don't want people to know, and like all these types of things. And that can be very, very. It's linked to addiction. It's linked to depression. It's linked to anxiety. It's linked to anger. It's linked to all these things. There's loads of different ways it can manifest in us. And for me, when I stopped using substances at first, I was overwhelmed with shame, and some of it was like from my past, some of it was from my childhood, you know, some of it was from my actions as an adult, some of it was as an actions as a child, and it was like I was overwhelmed by it, you know. And what I was told, like, you know what I mean, by people who were trying to help me, was that if I didn't come to terms with this stuff, like, you know what I mean, it was ultimately going to beat me down to a stage where I wouldn't be able to not use, you know, like, you know, I would feel that bad. And the way it was actually said to me, and like, you know what I mean, I don't know if anyone, like, it really worked for me. Where, see, the difference between shame and guilt, when you're feeling shame, it's the feeling is all you can really feel. You can't actually feel remorse properly or empathy for somebody else when you're in that feeling of shame, because it's just, that's what you're focused on, that's what you feel. And so I was told to start looking at it as a self-indulgent emotion. And I know this sounds mad, right? But because it's all about me, really, you know what I mean? And found that when I was in those places, I wasn't able to take care of the stuff that I was meant to be taking care of. I wasn't able to, to be responsible. I wasn't able to be there for my loved ones. I wasn't able to be functioning properly in my life. And when that was kind of told me, it gave me the motivation to say, right, I can park some of this for now, and I'm going to get into this process of trying to deal with it. And like you talked about, Danny, I did the same thing. I went in and I looked at my past, and like I saw areas where, say for instance, like Sue had said, like I was cruel, like as in my, like I could be in a drunken thing and I could say some very, very hurtful things to people, like, you know what I mean, just in a flippant throwaway thing. I might think it's funny in the moment, but I might have this flash of a really hurt expression on someone's face from things I said. And it was often said to me by girlfriends, things like that. Do you remember what you said to so and so? And I'd be like, scratch. I mean, I was only messing. They're like, no, they're really hurt by what you said. So there's all these kind of situations and a lot of other things, like, you know what I mean, that I had a lot of shame about, and. But again, like we talked about in the other podcasts, my thing was I got into a process of trying to make it right, by me stopping that behavior. That was my first port of call, and that was an awful lot easier when I wasn't drinking and drugging. And then I wrote down the things that I had done, these things that I felt shame over. And in the ones where, like in the situations where it was things that I had done and I'd hurt people, I actually went back and I said sorry, you know what I mean? And in the cases where I needed to amend it, which means like to make right, like the things that I'd done, if I'd stolen something, I gave it back, or you know what I mean? But a lot of times it was I hurt someone, I apologized, and I did that to people like I didn't really get on with or didn't really, talk to or such or that. I'd meet them, I'd be on the street, I'd have written it down, and I kind of would stop them and I'd say, listen, you might not remember, but a few years back we met as I was coming out of the pub and I said something to you and I just want to apologise, you know what I mean? It was a hurtful thing to say. Sometimes they'd be looking kind of curious, or, you know what I mean? They'd be like, what, you know what I mean? But it always went well for me, you know what I mean? And then I could move on from that. Like I had amended it, I had said I was sorry, and it just left me the freedom to kind of go, well, at least I'm moving on from that now. But there was things around shame, like where that I realised through doing some work. It was a long time and a lot of work I had done before I actually realised this, that there's lots of situations from my childhood, but one in particular where I was kind of left I was being taken care of by this other adult, and they got extremely upset with me, and they basically screamed these things at me, like, you know what I mean, about how they felt about me and what I was and what I wasn't and all this type of thing. I was only 4 or 5, and it was like it was visceral, like in that moment, like obviously they're a traumatized person, traumatized people or abused people, you know what I mean? And it was like they that stuff, no one had ever spoken that honestly, because in that moment that's how they felt, you know what I mean? And it was with such conviction that it made me, I never realized, but like I became shamed as a person of just being me, and it just totally altered the way I was throughout the rest of my life. And Colin will attribute to this, if he would have got to know me, like, I mean, when I was first starting to, like, say, stop using, and like people might say I might play some music, like, and I was good, you know what I mean? I play music and I'd sing. I could say that now, like, a little bit above average, you know what I mean? So I would get compliments about it, and I could not believe it, like, you know what I mean? It just would not go in, like, you know what I mean? And people used to go like, what is your issue? Like, why? Like, you know what I mean? It's obvious. And I just never believed people, and I didn't realize until I actually did the work that it was this shame that I was carrying that wasn't mine. It was something that was instilled in me in a moment, like, of anger. And like, it was a process that actually, it was Colin had a big part to play in that, you know what I mean? I was teaching him to play the guitar, and he has this way of kind of in this kind of catching you off guard kind of way of saying things. He just kind of said, you would just sing, and I was like, no, and next minute he goes, just mad the way, like there's some people that can't sing and they have no problem doing it. I can't remember what way he put it, but I actually believed him. And it was a kind of a thing where I was like, Jesus, maybe he's telling the truth, maybe I'm alright at this. I know it might seem like we're going off topic, but it's not really of how much this stuff can affect you, like in a way. It's like, thankfully, like, I've gotten in, and like you were talking with Danny, I've done the work, and I suggest it for anyone, like, to try and avoid these things. A lot of the time, this is what we're using all this stuff for, is trying to avoid it. But if we actually go and face it in a proper way, it's amazing the freedom that you can get from it. So, Col?
Sorry? You're trying to... no, I'm enjoying listening to you. Keep going.
No, go ahead then.
Just on a, I just Googled shame just for the interest, you know what I mean? And it says shame is an unpleasant, self-conscious emotion typically associated with a negative evaluation of the self. Withdrawal motivations and feelings of distress, exposure, mistrust, powerlessness, and worthlessness. It's interesting, that description, because it really is kind of when I gave up drinking drugs, that's the way I felt about myself. My self-worth was, not good, like, you know what I mean? And like you talked about, Mick, as well, and like I talked about, was to be able to do kind of a negative, positive inventory of, who am I? You know what I mean? Write about the good and the bad of my past, and see that I'm neither better than I thought it was, or I'm neither as amazing as I thought it was, or as shit as I thought it was. That I'm human, and finding some sort of humility that we're human. We make mistakes. We do things. And when I was drinking and drugging, I made some, mistakes. And it doesn't make me the worst person in the world, and it's really kind of we're talking about it now regularly on our podcast. It's a journey to kind of finding ourselves, you know what I mean, and trying new things, and I know for myself all the different things I've tried over the years, the different experiences have attributed to me feeling okay with myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think, Colin?
I don't know. You see, I'm listening to you, and you have a great in-depth fucking understanding of the word shame. Like, cause when not shame as in like what the word means, but in relation to into this situation, like in recovery. Because when I think of shame, I think way back. Like I think way back when, especially drinking. Like it's always. I was only thinking about this today because I was chatting to someone about drinking and drugs earlier. Like, and I don't have any shame in my life today.
Yeah.
Not in relation to this. I don't have none, right? And even for that, you're talking about peace of mind, right? I take it, when I'm listening to you talking, I'm thinking, how did I obtain that peace of mind? A lot of it just came from time. I know it's kind of harping on about the stuff we've done before, but just the self-acceptance part of it. Like everyone experiences shame, especially around drinking and drugs. You don't have to be an alcoholic or a drug addict in order to have those the next day where you wake up and you go, oh my God, what did I do yesterday? I think they call it the fear in Ireland, no?
Yeah.
After fear.
Wake up with the fear. But like I think he articulated it better than I would. Anyway, just listening to you guys talking about it. But just for me, I'm very grateful actually that I don't have that bullshit in my life anymore. And it just comes from time. Again, with me, the longer I stayed alcohol and drug free, the more confident I got with things, the more comfortable I became.
The more you realised you were a sound cunt and you didn't.
I just don't have I don't know where to go with it, because I don't have I don't have any of that. It's 12 years ago since I experienced experienced that and like that, and it like I didn't just give up drinking drugs one day and everything disappeared. Like, you know what I mean? I had done a lot of work, like Danny was saying, through different programs and this kind of stuff. And I'd done a lot of work over the years to get to know myself and realize I was able to separate myself from my drug use, my alcohol use, and the real me eventually. You know, I always remember, having to do that before in a situation, and I was able to just separate myself from my behavior, because that wasn't who I was at all. You know, it wasn't like, and all that shit I got in trouble over, whatever it was, that I remember having a realization one day that if I wasn't drinking or taking drugs, none of this would be happening. None of it. So when I stopped doing it, it's just, I was just delighted. I was only a young fella. I was delighted to be couldn't believe it, man. You know, I was just delighted to be clean and sober. I never really looked back too much, but all I can think of from my situation was time and doing the right things, and really trying hard to get longevity and to get to become a better person overall. I'm still trying that, you know. I'm still trying, like.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, we do, and that's what I like about you guys. And you know, sitting around, like, even when we're talking, we're always kind of chatting about whether it's like physically better or mentally better. It's always trying to, you know, figure stuff out and understand ourselves better, which is good, no?
Yeah, absolutely. And just to make it clear, I suppose, because we're always talking about the solution here, you know, and so it may come across, I don't know, it may come across that like we're living these perfect lives, that we don't struggle or we don't have any issues, and that's just not the case. Like, we struggle, we have our down days, we have our we get, like, you know what I mean, angry, we get emotional, like, you know what I mean, we get intolerant, all these things, but we always are trying to make things right, you know what I mean, and so just to kind of say that, you know what I mean, that, listen, at the end of the day, if you have a past like that, if say, for instance, you've broken a fence, okay, and every day you're driving by the fence and someone else's fence you shouldn't have broken, you're kind of going, oh, Jesus, you know what I mean? You kind of wince every time you go by. But if you get out and you mend the fence, fix it, right? Fix the fucking fence, say you're sorry to your man for breaking it, you know what I mean? And he mightn't be, like, you know what I mean, he might, whatever, you know what I mean? But at least you can drive by it every day after that and you can go, well, I've done my bit, you know what I mean? I've made it right and I can move on. So if there are situations like that, do that, you know what I mean? And the best way to do that, what I found is, we talked about here, you know what I mean? It's like, I've talked about Russell Brand's book, Recovery, but it's based on the 12 steps. And it's just a system that you can apply to your life in 12-step recovery groups. And it's a tried and tested way of going in and dealing with stuff like that, clearing away the wreckage of the past and getting a kind of system to kind of apply to your life that you can live in. And you do get to deal with an awful lot of the guilt and shame stuff that we can carry. Because I can assure you, like, this is from my experience, that yes, I'm sure there's stuff that you did that, like, you know, it's that you feel shame over and that you feel guilty over and stuff like that. But if you go in and you actually look at it honestly, an awful lot of the time, what our mind does to our experience or our past, you know what I mean, we warp it and make it worse, and you know, that can often happen. Now, I know we can minimize stuff as well, but I feel that if you come in and you've given up stuff over a period of time, you can actually make it worse in your head. You actually just face things, look at them, and if you feel honestly that you need to go back and amend something, make it all right, mend it, do. And I still do that today. You know what I mean? I try to see honestly where I've wronged somebody, and if it is, I just try to get some humility and the understanding that it makes me feel better when I go back and I say, listen, I'm sorry, can I make this right?
Actually, humility is the key, isn't it?
Yeah.
You definitely need it. You definitely need it.
Even like, okay, so we're applying this shame to different areas of life. So if that's the case, I'm very shameful over my behavior coming off nicotine. You know, I'm surprised I still have a girlfriend. That's the truth after this week, you know. I ain't talking about we struggle and this, they're fucking right, man. But it's like, you know, when you say it absolutely, we can all struggle, no matter how long you have behind you or whatever. There is still life struggles, but the struggle is a fucking really strong word, I think. You know what I mean? Because when I think of struggling, I think of, you know, drug addiction or whatever, but I definitely do, like have smaller struggles in my life today all the time, but everyone does, man. Like even I have friends that don't live sober lives and all that, and they have fucking massive struggles as well. The only thing is the consequences may be different for people like us.
Yeah.
If the struggles aren't dealt with correctly, maybe.
Yeah.
I think the other cool thing is, like, if I look back at, there's a lot of things, I wouldn't do now. You know what I mean? I say, I wish I hadn't hurt the people that I hurt in the past or done the things that I've done. But I truly believe every part of my past makes me who I am today. And it's certainly, if I'm being honest, I wouldn't have it anyway, because it's shaped the person I am. And through the dark times that I had when I was younger and when I was drinking and drugging, has allowed me to become the person and take the path that I've taken today and put me in the situations that I am in now. And for me, the biggest way of kind of my apologies for some of the stuff that I've done in the past, for example, hurting my family, is not through saying I'm sorry, but actually showing that I've changed. You know what I mean? That I'm doing things differently now, that I'm not out to hurt other people. You know what I mean? I'm not out to do those things. That my change is an apology. And for me, a lot of times apology is in action as opposed to words, and that's kind of, I'm grateful that, I've had the journey that I have, because it's made me who I am. And if I hadn't have done the things and gone to the dark places that I did, I don't think I would be able to look at myself as deeply as I can now, and be as open-minded as I am now to an extent. I can be closed-minded at times, but it's shaped who I am today, if that makes any sense.
It does indeed.
By the Holy Jesus.
By the Holy Jesus.
Bit the lamb and salmon. So I think
lamb and salmon. Where the fuck does that come from?
I was sitting in a cafe one night, and there was an old Irish dude sitting there, and he was, after ordering a full Irish breakfast at 11:30 at night. And when she right, after ordering a full Irish breakfast at 11:30 at night, this was a fucking monster of a breakfast that arrived at your man's table from the waitress. And when the waitress put it down on his table, he turned around and said, "Beat the lamb and salmon." He was an old farmer dude, he just looked at the breakfast, I was like 11:30 at night, the concept of eating that, which he probably ate every morning for his whole life, looked at it, arrived on the table at 11:30, it was just like, bit of lamb and salmon, huh? I don't even know what that means. Like,
look, I was trying to figure it out when you said it.
It just sounds like something you would be in amazement of, isn't it? Like, a bit of lamb and salmon. So I've always kept that phrase, because I just thought it was fucking hilarious.
Great.
It was a harmless way. I would have probably said, "Holy fucking Jesus," or something like that.
Be the Lamb of Divine Jesus.
Holy Mother. Another popular one actually is Holy Mother of God. Why do we talk about God like that so much in these situations?
It's awesome. I don't know.
Oh, stop, was it?
Oh my God.
I can picture you sitting there with "God is awesome" on a fucking t-shirt.
I get it made up. Fuck you. What you got? Definitely.
God is awesome. I'm gonna make some kind of graphic for that, and I'll put it on my Insta. God is awesome. Yeah, definitely.
Did you ever hear the story about John Wayne? He was one of the Roman centurions in this the film of Jesus Christ, and Jesus was getting baptized, and next minute he was like, he truly was the Son of God. The director goes, it's Jesus. Like, could you give it some more awe? And he went, "Oh, he surely was the Son of God." Yeah, but anyway, there you go.
I have to love your John Wayne accent.
Yeah, it's I know it's pretty pathetic, but yeah, you got the idea.
No, it's good at the start, man. I have to
just
say.
it died then. But,
Have you any funny Jesus jokes?
Jesus.
No, man, I don't take our Lord's name in vain.
Fuck off.
Have you seen that Life of Brian? I've seen Life of Brian. I assume you have, lads.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. What, the life of Brian? Yeah.
Yeah. It was banned in Ireland when it came out first, you know that?
It was-
Even while, it was for years, man. I can remember as a teenager, it was still banned, you know. And
It was quite a challenging movie towards religious beliefs and all, which was great when you think about it, like at the time and that. And now it's a free.
Biggest.
Now it's an absolute free for all, isn't it? It's just
Police watcher.
Yeah. Watcher was the whippest in a whop.
Hey, do any of you remember that thing on Facebook a while ago? It must have been a few years now. RT were having, you know about RT, for anyone listening, RT is the national broadcaster in Ireland, but they do a live mass every Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
They do a live church. So someone made an event for one of them, and over 500,000 people said they were going to it, and it was just constant abuse. It was just constant abuse towards the Catholic Church and the whole thing, but in a funny way. You know, people were treating it like it was a rave. I just kept visualizing if fucking 50,000 people turned up at this church for the RT mass, all wearing glow sticks and fucking rave gear.
Send around the collection plate, lads, quick.
Does they still do that? Do they still have the mass on the Sunday on the TV?
I think so. I haven't watched television in years. I don't even have RTE. Oh, maybe I do, but I haven't watched it in years, so I have no idea.
Do you know, I watch it more now that I live here than I did when I lived at home. It's almost like I don't know how to explain it. It's almost like a connection with Ireland. If that, you know yourself, you become more fucking Irish when you go away. Do you know what I mean?
Hey, listen, I just don't get why you would, not you know, Danny, I'm talking about everyone, sitting down watching something with breaks and shit, like when you could actually just like Netflix it or fucking whatever other streaming services there is.
The Teo and Barry's tea bags adverts make him feel more at home.
Yeah, I actually just watch it for the advert.
He kind of gets weepy. During the adverts. It's like, oh.
Yeah, no, like what are you watching? Fair City?
No, I do now and again watch. I'm not going to say anything about it on this, but
God,
it's pure
this is
shit.
spiraling out of control, lads. Spiraling.
Yeah. But
Fair City.
No, I'd be watching, like, honest to God, I watch a bit of the Late Late Show. I don't even like the guy that presents it, but
I understand that. And don't bitch out. It's Ryan Tuberty that presents it. Don't bitch out. If you're gonna give up
okay.
the match.
There's this fella, and he
I have to say he was one of the nicest guys I've ever met.
Was
a really nice guy. Yeah, when I was doing a bit of work up on that TV show at Christmas, and I have to say the guy was super nice to me. Really nice.
Process kind of show a bit kind of fake, if that makes sense.
Yeah, he could be fake, man. He is kind of an actor in a sense. I don't know. Maybe he was just being fake, but yeah, I understand you watching the Late Late Show. I can get that because it's a little bit of home and that. You know what I mean? Yeah. But if you're sitting at home watching Fair City, man, someone needs to turn around and give you a few slaps. You know what I mean?
It did, man. It still hasn't fixed me. But
sharp slap at the side of the head.
I've a head that takes regular slaps. My mother said I have a face that needs regular panel beating.
Jesus Christ.
But on a serious note, yeah, also the Tommy Tiernan show. Did you ever see that show?
I heard it's pretty good, though. I did hear it's good.
He doesn't know who's coming on. So he has no idea who's coming on. And then they come on. And then he might know them and he might not know them. So sometimes he's like trying to figure out who the hell they are.
Let's be honest, like acting with Tommy Tiernan in it is fucking hilarious, man.
Yeah,
so
it's good, like.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's good. Now, and
part comedian, part philosopher.
Yeah.
Have you seen him in Derry Girls?
Yeah.
No, do you know what? I watched a few of them. I haven't. I must fucking go back to watching them. Like,
I know went off it.
How can you go off it? It's one of the greatest Irish. I just thought it was a brilliant TV show. Very international, even though it's very. I thought the Northern Irish accent worked great in it. I just thought it was brilliant. I loved everything about it.
There's a girl in it that isn't even Northern Irish. She puts on a fairly good accent on it as well.
She's from Laois.
Is she from Laois?
Yeah.
Which one is that?
I don't know.
she's She's blonde hair, slightly one of the bigger girls, I think. In it.
Okay. I get you. No, it's cool.
So,
I think we've come to a natural conclusion there, lads.
I can see the headlines: shit, shame, and RTE. That's going to be the heading for this one.
When we start talking about fucking Fair City and fat chicks from Bleach, I think it's the time to pull the plug on it.
I hear, man. When I was in art college, I remember we went to see the National Art Museum.
Were you in art college?
Yeah, I studied art, man.
Jesus.
That's what I said when I started. But a fucking so we're up in the National Art College looking at fucking. And next thing, they start Fair City were started shooting. They were shooting a scene or something in there, and that was back when I was using, and I literally full voice without realizing. I said, "There's all the there's all the fucking." The cast are fairly shitty, like, and they looked around. I was like, fucking, totally mortified. Like,
you need to go and amend that, Danny. You need to go and say sorry. Yeah,
I'm still feeling shame over it, man.
Yeah, I definitely think, man, there's like perfect opportunity now to get a plane over to Dublin and sort this shit out.
Go to what's the name of the place? Carrickstown.
No idea.
No idea, Danny. Why would I know that?
Why the fuck would I know that? But
anyway, listen.
R.I.G. beautiful bollocks. I'm going to head on.
There's a lot.
Where will you find us?
Instagram. At That's Good Crack Podcast, Facebook, That's Good Crack, and I don't know the rest of them. The
email is 3drylads as a number 3 at gmail.com. And like and share, lads, wherever that. Can you even like this? But anyway, share it on something and get a few more whoers listen to it.
Yeah, reviews or ratings would be amazing on iTunes, or follow us or whatever, just to help other people find our podcast.
Nice.
Follow us. Feel shame.
Yeah, sure. A lot of Danny's relations listen. So any of Danny's relations, here, throw us another review there.
just also, just like what you were saying last week, Mick, if anyone needs any real help, okay, go on, Mick. Finish what I was going to say there.
No, it's just basically we just like to start saying that, like, if you do believe you have an issue or a problem with substance abuse or any of these type of issues, go talk to your doctor, contact your local drug services, and go to a 12-step recovery group. You can find out the information online. They're very welcoming places and tried and tested way of dealing with stuff. So you just go and see what you think. Just to kind of say that if you feel like this kind of brings up anything, or it's kind of making you think about things in a certain way, and you do believe there's an issue, that just a bit of a suggestion, that's all.
Brilliant, nice one, lads. Sure, listen, take care, and I'll talk to you all next week.
All right, boys. Peace.
Don't forget to subscribe to That's Good Crack on iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, and wherever you're listening to it right now.